Welcome, girl. I'm super excited to have you to come on, kind of share your experience in the academy. So, I guess to get started, just so everyone can kind of have a better understanding where you first came from, I'd love for you to just share what your life was like before finding me, before this program. What were you dealing with in regards to your relationship with food and your body?
So I actually have struggled with an eating disorder for a really long time. Most of high school, it was really bad. Um, and then whenever I finished high school, I went to college, and just I guess the stress of being on my own and having to deal with that on my own, um, it kind of got even worse. And I tried seeing like a doctor and a dietitian, and it helped in some regards, but I just felt like there was no completely fixing the problem, I guess. Like I just thought it was something I was going to have to deal with the rest of my life.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I really struggled. I kind of had a roller coaster of things that I struggled with, just kind of as stresses changed in my life.
Mhm.
So, like throughout high school, I dealt with anorexia and ultimately like more bulimic types of problems. But then when I got to college, it was more leaning towards binging a lot
Mhm.
and or really, really bad binge restrict cycles. And so I've never really known a good relationship with food because, like I said, most of my life I've kind of dealt with this. So um, that's kind of what I dealt with before I found you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I know so many people can relate to that. Yeah, yo-yo diet, binge, guilt cycle. I know that's familiar to many people. Um, what would you say that you were feeling after seeing, a doctor and a therapist and kind of feeling like you were crazy and like there was no hope? How did you feel after kind of going through that?
Yeah, I actually forgot to mention that I did see a therapist on top of the doctor and dietitian.
Mhm.
Um, I'd say I like I said, I tried the dietitian, but I didn't get anything from it. Like I don't know, it just the I don't really know how to explain it, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, it was just like it didn't really give me the tools to change my mentality towards food,
Right.
like this did. And I I had a good relationship with my doctor, and I was put on medication to help with my problems I was having.
Mhm.
And like I said, I had a really good relationship with my doctor, and it did help in some regards, but it was kind of one of those, and again, like it wasn't anything that really changed my mentality with
Right.
food.
Mhm.
And I mean, I don't want to be on a medication for the rest of my life. And
Right.
so that was another thing. And um, I really enjoyed my therapist too. And I think that was probably the closest thing I had to what I have here.
Mhm.
Um, it was good having somebody to kind of just sit down and talk with. But again, like the difference between all of those things and the program here with you is that um, it really gave me the tools to change the way I think about food and also how to manage my impulses.
Mhm.
So, because that was the biggest thing for me is I was doing all these things, but I just felt hopeless because nothing was stopping my impulses, like my impulsive thoughts and behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely love that you mentioned that because sometimes we feel like, we're crazy, like we're asking for support or we're getting the assistance that we need, but we're still binging and we're still having these crazy thoughts, about food. So I love that you mentioned that. And I always say it's the impulse that really makes us do these things with food. So once we can kind of tackle that, then we can start to, actually tackle our binge eating behaviors. Um, how did you feel, I guess, after going through, all of these things and trying to seek help? How did you feel coming to me and learning my program? Like, were you skeptical, thinking that this was just going to be, another program, or what were your thoughts kind of coming in?
So, yes, I have to say I did feel a little bit hopeless, just because I've already sought help and I wasn't really getting what I was thinking I was gonna get out of it.
Hmm.
And so what drew me to your program was kind of just because I followed you on Instagram and just seeing your posts and kind of what the message was that you were sending, and I really, really liked that.
Hmm.
And so anyways, I kind of had the mentality that nothing was gonna fully help me recover.
Hmm.
Um, so that was a big thing. Like I knew it, like I really liked the message you were sending, and that is kind of why I wanted to give it a try. And I'm
Hmm.
really happy that I did because I did have some skepticism just because I knew things didn't work in the past, and I always went back to my, previous behaviors, and the impulses in the end usually won. So, yeah, I definitely would say at the beginning I there definitely was maybe a little bit of skepticism, not because I didn't think. I mean, let me reword that. I really liked the idea of how you were kind of more geared towards man like dealing with the mentality first,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I was, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And what were you hoping to get out of working with the dietitian and the therapist and the doctor? Like, what were you hoping to get out of that?
um I mean, I was just hoping to um obviously stop the crazy behaviors that I was having before, but ultimately I just wanted to feel comfortable in my own skin,
Yeah.
I guess. And I mean, a lot of that does well, all of it comes from your mind and your thoughts. And, um, I see that as probably why it didn't exactly work out because, they're not really geared towards, you know, changing your thoughts and having more positive thoughts. So,
Yes, that's a big one for sure. And going through that, what made you want to sign up for my program? Like, what was that kind of breaking point that made you realize, like, I can do this like one more time? Like, maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. What made you want to just take that leap?
um, so I actually was kind of at a pretty low point. And again, even though I'd saw all this help and I kind of had kind of a roller coaster of events, just going from, having some really positive moments to I was just at the bottom of the hill, like not doing too great and not too feeling very good about myself. And it just kind of felt like more than coincidence that you reached out to me. And so I was like, you know what, I'll talk to her. And so then I talked to you, and I just knew like I wanted to give it a shot because I did want to feel better about myself.
Yeah, and I'm forever grateful that you did reach, or you did respond back to me.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Um, So walk me through the binge impulse. Like what did that actually feel like for you when you were at like this low point? What did the impulse actually feel like for you?
So a lot of the times, I don't know if this necessarily was the impulse itself, but the trigger for me was I felt lonely a lot.
Mhm.
And so I guess just dealing with being on my own was a big trigger for me. And as far as like what the impulse actually was, I dealt with most of my struggles during the night, and it was almost like, sometimes I wasn't even aware of it. Like it was just so, you know, programmed into me that I didn't even have to be fully conscious. Like, I'd wake up in the middle of the night or like late in the evening, and it was just like I was on autopilot. Like I didn't have any thoughts while I was doing it. It was just kind of after the fact that I would even have a consciousness about it, like to think what I did.
Mhm.
And so it was really hard and, disheartening to go through that because I felt like there was no way I could control it. There was no way I could fix it because most of the time I wasn't even fully aware of what I did until after the fact.
Mhm. Yeah, I know how frustrating that can be. I always talk about awareness, and it's like if we're aware of something, we can start to control, that issue. But it's like if we feel like we're on autopilot mode or somebody is kind of taking over our body, it's like we start to think like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
But there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, and I'm glad that we were able to really challenge those nighttime impulses. Um, so Taylor, what did you learn about yourself going through this program and since working with me? What are some things that you've learned about yourself?
Um, One of the biggest things for me is just in general, I learned that it's okay to have certain foods when I want certain foods.
Hmm.
And like, I guess more so it would be that I've, instead of, trusting a calorie counter on my phone or, defining foods as good or bad or good or evil,
Hmm.
um, I've really learned to listen to my body. I've actually, in this program, like, I've been able to um, be more in tune with like my actual hunger cues, like when my body is telling me I'm hungry. And then, I've gotten to where, like I don't feel guilty when I eat certain foods, or I don't get the same anxiety I do when, like, say we went to a restaurant and I'm like, man, I really want this, but I know I should have this.
Yes.
And just having that anxiety of going places and not having a structured control over what I'm eating, I guess that
Hmm.
was another big thing for me. um, I just felt personally a lot of anxiety about certain things that I did have before have kind of melted away. Like it's not something that controls most of my life anymore. It's
Hmm.
just food.
Yes.
And I I I don't know, like I guess I could also say my relationship with myself and being okay that I'm not perfect. Like I don't look perfect, but that's okay. And just being okay with how I am, and you know, like it's just I don't know. I sorry, I'm kind of at a
Yep.
loss for
Hey,
words right
girl.
now. But but yeah, I don't know. I've just become more in tune with what my body's telling me. And that's huge because I definitely didn't have that before. It was almost like I'd lost the ability to tell when I was hungry or to differentiate between when I was hungry or when I was just being impulsive.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's huge. And for so many people who spent so much of their time on these diet plans, or you can only eat at a certain time, or you can only eat certain foods, it's like we lose sight of our hunger and fullness. So what programs, like what diets have you tried in the past?
Um, I've done a lot. I'm definitely for a really long time I did the paleo diet,
Mhm.
and I've also tried the keto. I've tried intermittent fasting. I followed really strict like meal plans. I've done like the 21-day fix. I've done like, you know, more so having a target um, calorie goal,
Mhm.
eating less than that calorie goal. I've and then just kind of like I also had certain food rules, like I could never eat pizza, I could never eat bread, just things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And walk me through like how that worked for you. Like did it work for a certain period of time and then, it didn't work, or how are you kind of feeling mentally doing these different programs?
Um, so I did the paleo and like highly restricting my calories most of high school,
Mhm.
and I lost like almost 40 pounds.
Mm.
Um, when I did it, like, I was getting all this positive feedback from my friends, like saying you look great and yada yada yada. And of course, like that made it almost like obsessive, like I need to lose more weight.
Yes.
And so I just became obsessed with eating less and less calories.
Mhm.
And I felt good because I was getting all kinds of positive feedback from other people, and just seeing the scale go lower and lower, I guess. And the negative part of that though was suddenly food became all I could think about. Like, I don't know, I would got to where it ruled my life. Like, I didn't want to hang out with friends because I needed to go to the gym to burn calories. And again, I couldn't go out with friends because I didn't have control over what I was eating when we went to restaurants and things like that.
Mhm.
And so it really um, impacted my social life. Like, I had friends at school and they'd always ask me to come do things, and I would always turn them down.
Yeah.
And that's kind of lonely and isolating. And um, I definitely struggled with that for all of high school. And then, I after high school, I went to college, and um, it became almost like, again, I was still obsessed with burning calories. Like, I would exercise excessively.
Mhm.
And that's when I started to kind of lose control of my impulses. And
Right.
I would restrict myself for a long time. And then I would just completely like binge. And it made me feel awful because I mean that would make anybody feel awful. I think
Yeah.
just going through such a drastic like cycle of you know highly restricting, and then can't take it anymore and just binging. And I mean throughout all of this I never had a good body image, I
Mhm.
guess.
Mhm.
And you know then like throughout my college career I just slowly like began to I because of my the habits I was going through, I was just exhausted, and it was just very exhausting.
Yeah, exhausting cycle, physically, mentally, emotionally, when we're kind of like in that pendulum swing, right? It's like we're like either restricting or like we're binging, and then like we go back and forth. Like it is truly an exhausting cycle. Um, I've known that oh too well as well. um, so now that you've, realized that, dieting's not the answer, and we really have to manage, our impulses, and we've done that in the program. What is your life like now? Like, what are you able to, experience, now that we have a healthy relationship with food? If you don't mind just sharing about that.
Yeah, for sure. So the biggest thing for me is I really honestly do just feel better about myself because I'm not constantly, body checking and like seeing what I look like. I'm more, focused on how I feel and um, just, like I said, already said, just listening to my body and like um, really trusting what it's telling me. And for instance, another positive thing is like my boyfriend and I, we can go out to eat and I don't feel guilty about getting certain things. And I think
Yes.
it's really improved my relationship with him because, he sees when I don't feel good about myself and,
Mhm.
um, it makes him worry about me. And, just having that ease of mind that if he suggests, let's go out to eat or let's go get ice cream or something, like I'm not, freaking out on the inside or telling him no or that I don't want to. And I'm not so obsessed with how I look and, it's just given me more time to be with him also.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I feel like it's also given me the ability to, have less anxiety in other places in my life too.
Mm,
Because, I mean, since I've started to recognize a change in myself, I've felt a lot less anxiety about other things in my life.
mhm.
Um, and even on top of that, like another big thing is, like I said, I've become more in tune with my body. I listen to what it's telling me. And I also have been able to differentiate between, when am having impulsive thoughts
Mhm.
versus when it's actually just my body telling me, like, I'm hungry. I'm craving this. Like,
Yes. Yeah, knowing that difference of like, okay, I'm just, craving something versus like this maddening demon of an impulse, like, that's huge. That's such a big one. Such a big one. Yeah, I love that. Um, and before, obviously, you were in this intense, restrict binge cycle. How are your binges now? And obviously, your relationship with food you kind of shared about right now. But how has the binge impulses improved since joining the program?
so super huge thing for me, as I mentioned before, when I was having these behaviors, it was late at night and it was almost like I was in a dreamlike state. Like I was completely on autopilot, wasn't aware of what I was doing. And now I haven't had any time that I wasn't aware when I had these impulses.
Mhm.
And I mean, obviously that's a huge thing because I can, have a conscious decision on whether I act on it or not.
Right.
And like haven't had I haven't had any of the issues that I started out with. Um, I feel so much better about myself, just even just feeling proud that I've come this far and I'm better equipped to deal with some of the minor slip ups that I might come across or have had. And like I said, that was really the biggest thing for me. I I do feel really really proud and happy because I never thought that was going to go away. Um, but really like just at night, when I do have those impulsive thoughts, like I said, I can tell myself like, no, like what are you doing?
Yeah.
And even like you said, like set a timer, and then I can act on it after this timer goes off. And most of the time I'm back asleep before then. So
Yeah, like that's such a huge win. And it's like we can feel like I'm just going to struggle with this for the rest of my life. This is just my reality. Like I'm never going to get out of these cycles. But so happy of all of your progress, understanding your hunger and fullness cues, and not feeling as guilty anymore. Like those are such huge wins. I'm just so proud of you.
thank
Yeah.
you.
So the last thing I'd love to ask you is, just like you, there's a lot of women who want to have a better relationship with food, but they are fearful. They're skeptical. They've tried other things in the past, and they feel like they're going to struggle with this for the rest of their lives as well. So for those women who are fearful, what advice would you give them now that you've been through the program?
Yeah. So like I said, I definitely felt that way before. And it's one thing I learned throughout this process is, you know, recovering from these type of things is obviously not perfect. You
Mhm.
don't have to have a perfect recovery. And I know that mentality of perfection was a big thing for me coming into this. And I definitely just think you're not gonna fix any of these problems if you don't change your mentality towards food.
Mhm.
Um, I know even coming into this program, I was hoping like, yeah, I'm gonna fix myself and I'm gonna lose weight in the process. And like through the process, I've learned to just be happy with who I am, and I'm more than just a number on the scale, I guess. And um, I was very pleasantly surprised at how much more this helped me than I even thought it would. Because, like I said, I did feel unfixable, but I was like, I think I can still get something out of this, and just like the total difference in my thought process towards food, or even outside of food in my life. I don't know, it's just really had a positive impact on my life. And um, I'd be happy to know that, somebody else who might have had similar thoughts coming into this program, just to give them some type of, reassurance that it does help, and you should, take a shot on yourself.
Mm, yeah, I love that. It's just take a shot, and just really put yourself in a position where you raise up your hand and you say like, I want support, because I feel so many people are, it's even kind of scary, asking for help when it comes to, our behaviors with food. Sometimes there's, embarrassment or shame, but just raising your hand and asking for support, like that's already a first step in a right direction. So oh, thank you so much, girl. I'm so proud of you for everything that you've accomplished. And it's been such an incredibly big, huge pleasure to have you in my program and just get you to, this ultimate place of, more balance with food. So thank you so much for trusting me and for, kind of putting the fear aside and taking action anyway. So I'm so thankful for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like I said, this has really impacted my whole life, like a very positive impact on my life. And I wish I could give you a hug, but I can't through
I
the
know, virtual hug.
virtual hug.
Oh, I love you, girl. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you again.
You're welcome, girl. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.